Okay, so the chapter opens up with Shiki still talking to Wizard about the theory he had at the end of the last chapter, which was that the reason why Wizard doesn't remember being friends with Witch is because 18 years ago, Ziggy erased the memories of the Dark Stars and the Shining Stars. And the reason why Shiki thinks that Ziggy did this was because back then he knew he'd eventually end up becoming the dark, berserk, evil version of himself that we see in the current day, and because of that, he didn't want the Dark Stars and Shining Stars working with that version of himself, so he most likely erased their memories and basically just sent them off by themselves. Now, obviously that ended up not working because the Dark Stars ended up working with Ziggy anyway, but still, that's most likely what Shiki thinks happened, and the reason why he erased their memories. Now, Wizard disputes that idea because he says that it implies that the real Ziggy is actually the good version of him, and the Ziggy that we have in the current day is actually some kind of corrupted version of himself, when in reality it was the other way around. The evil Ziggy that we have currently is the true version of himself, and the good Ziggy was the corrupted one, which Shiki actually agrees with and says that that's the reason why this whole thing is so confusing. Now, my theory as to what happened 18 years ago is that while they were on their journey to find Mother, Ziggy found baby Shiki, probably when they found Mother as well at the same time, because we do know that they did end up finding Mother at some point. But eventually, when he found baby Shiki, I think this is when he actually learned the truth about Shiki, because remember, it's already been implied by Ziggy that Shiki is a very big threat to the entire universe and that he can basically end up destroying it if he's not careful, and that's the reason why he has to be put down. And I think that when Ziggy actually found this out and was going to put down Shiki as a baby, Mother stepped in and stopped him by erasing his memories and reprogramming him to basically want to protect Shiki like he's his own family. Or at least that's my current theory as to what happened 18 years ago, and I'm sure by the end of this arc we'll end up finding out exactly what really happened back then, because it's already been mentioned or it's already been stated in either an interview or the afterwards to the current volume by Hiro Mashima that at the end of this arc we'll get the finale to the fight between Shiki and Ziggy. Which, honestly, each time I heard that, it surprised me. I originally didn't believe it, but when I saw it for my own self, I had no choice but to believe it. And again, it surprised me because of the fact that I honestly thought that we were way down the line going to get that final fight between them at the end of the series, because I originally thought that Ziggy was the main villain of the entire series. Then I guess that means that after this arc, someone else is going to end up becoming the main big bad of the series. And I'd say that currently the best bets for that are either the last OSG member we haven't been introduced to just yet, Saint Firefox, or possibly, and this is a wild theory, but maybe because she was most likely the one who created Shiki and turned him into this, threat to the universe, maybe Mother might actually end up being the main villain of the entire series. Now, speaking of the final fight between Shiki and Ziggy, that's apparently going to end up being more even than I originally thought it would be, because originally I thought that Shiki was still way too weak to take on Ziggy, and that if they fought in this arc, it would definitely be completely one-sided if they fought one-on-one. But apparently, because of what we saw at the end of the last chapter, finding out that Shiki was only using apparently about 1/10 of his power against Wizard, I'm thinking that he actually might stand a chance of beating Ziggy one-on-one. It's just going to come down to if Ziggy actually pulled that same trick he pulled on LZ, and if Shiki actually ends up falling for it. Well, speaking of LZ, we do cut over to her and Justice in this chapter, and we end up finding out two big things in this moment. One is that apparently it actually was Feather, not Holly, who told Justice that they were on Lindard, and that her and Eraser are actually on their way there. Which I'm assuming that once they get there, Hero's going to have them team up with Holly and taking out Dead and Crow, which makes it a lot more realistic that that team's actually going to be able to take him down, because let's be honest, that guy is way too powerful for them to be able to take on, even with Holly in her Gundam suit. Now, sure, we don't know exactly what Holly's ability is just yet, but I still had my doubts that they could actually take them on without Eraser and Feather's help as well. And the other thing is that Elsie thinks that when Ziggy pulled that trick on her, it actually wasn't a trick. It was actually the real good version of Ziggy trying to come out, and that he's actually somewhere still in Ziggy's heart. And I actually do think that at some point in the series or the end of this arc, we actually will see the good version of Ziggy come out. Maybe at the end of the fight between him and Shiki when Ziggy gets defeated. Maybe that's when the evil version of him will kind of die off or lose control of the body, and the good version will surface so the two of them can have like a final goodbye. Or maybe once the chronophage hits, that Ziggy's body will revert back to 18 years ago, right after he got mind wiped and turned into the good version of himself, and then he can tell Shiki the truth about his origins and why he's considered to be a threat to the entire universe. And then we cut over briefly with both Wise and Homeworld's fights, and we just get to show that the two of them are having a kind of a tough time against their opponents, but honestly, I think by the end of this arc, we'll actually get to see the two of them are still able to pretty easily defeat the Stark Star members. Then we cut over to the Eden Zero, where for some reason, Lobelia decides that she's going to leave the ship in order to go help Rebecca in her fight, and honestly, I think Hero's kind of just setting us up so that when we go over to Rebecca, as we see she's currently having a hard time with her fight against Clown, even in her overdrive, he's setting up that basically we already know that Rebecca were to use her reversibility, she would probably easily win this fight, but she's still holding back on that because of her whole hang up about the chronophage. And I'm thinking that he's setting this up that Labilia's going to show up, she's going to get in danger, and Rebecca's going to basically get the courage or the drive to use her reversibility to save Labilia, and it's going to end up getting her the victory against Clown. Either that, or he's going to have Labilia team up with Rebecca to take down Clown, and it's going to be revealed that Labilia has some kind of like special ether gear ability that puts her power-wise on scale with Rebecca. That's the only thing I can really see as the reason why Hiro would have her step foot off the ship. But anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching, I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought about the chapter. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.